Hello guys, welcome to my IGTV. On my YouTube, I think I'm gonna put this on both. By the way, I'm on YouTube. Head on over there. I'm gonna put the link here. Go subscribe to my channel. Today I'm really super excited. I don't know if you guys remember previous Money Monday where I said this year I'm going to purpose to sit on big tables with big people, and you guys said there's nothing like big people. You told me it's only normal people doing big things. So I'm here with a very normal person who's doing huge things. I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Ivy. My name is Maina Wacieni, currently the General Manager at Apollo Asset Managers. It's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully the discussions we have here will be useful to everybody who gets to watch this.
Fantastic, thank you, Maina. So the reason I'm here today is because I asked you what you want to discuss on subsequent Money Mondays, and a lot of you said money market funds, savings investments, SACCOs, banking, land banking, cryptocurrency. So I needed an expert. So I called my guys at APA or Apollo and I asked them, do you have someone who can just, talk to me for a few minutes? And said, yeah, we have the best person. So the GM is here, an expert in his field. By the way, Mr. Maina, why should we trust your advice? What's your background in finance?
An excellent question. My background in finance stems from my early days at Dan Blair. I joined, them out of a passion for the investment markets. Started in, operations, then moved into the research field. A big thing for me was being able to transmit market information, not just to people who are familiar with investments, but, far and beyond that. I then moved into, the asset management side. So I've dealt with pension funds. Saving for retirement is a thing I'm also passionate about. So just we can have a high standard of life even as you retire. Managed a couple of high net worth clients as well thereafter. As a result, now with Apollo Asset Management, hoping again to essentially ramp up that kind of financial literacy and make people aware of the opportunities available for them. Wow,
seasoned financial, what do you call you guys? Anyway, whatever it is, you're seasoned. You're a very seasoned investment manager. One thing we stay true to on our platform, especially with my followers, first we call my followers movers and shakers, just because they're people who are very hungry to learn and very willing to listen and learn from their past mistakes. And I am one of those people. I never claim to have a lot of money. All I do is to claim to be very hungry for knowledge, and so are my followers. So I want to thank you once more for hosting us today. So I'll get straight to the first question. So maybe you can give a general guideline on what people should look out for when planning to save and planning to invest their money.
Okay, so I like the way you've asked the question in terms of save and then invest, because it's important to do the saving bit first, or at least establish a discipline and pattern there. And then you're going to have something that you can actually invest. So the first thing I'd say that is very important to think about as individuals is establishing a reasonable rate of saving. So what do I mean? Say I have disposable income of 10,000. What amount of that 10,000 can I realistically put aside, my other living expenses taken into account, on a regular basis that I can then use to invest? Many times we tend to set the bar a bit high. So somebody will say, I'll have a savings rate of 50%, meaning 5,000 of the 10,000. But we all know life happens. Something is going to come up, an emergency expense, which means you can't save the full 5,000. So you start saving less and less, right? It's much better to say, I'm going to target 10% as an example. It's a reasonable figure which you can probably maintain even with life happening around you. And then over time you can grow that, right? The investment process.
So before we go to investment, so that 10% on savings, is that the rule of thumb, or is this an example you're giving?
It's just an example.
Okay, fine.
Because the reasonable savings rate can be different for different people. If I have a family, chances are I'm not going to be able to have as high of a rate just because there are all these expenses coming up. If I don't have a family, on the other hand, I might be able to put aside a little bit more, right? So it's really about, some self-awareness. This is your lifestyle. This is what you can reasonably put aside. and then just making sure it's reasonable enough that it gives you a chance of at least maintaining, you know, the trend. Right?
Okay.
So it's different for different people.
All right, understood. Guidelines to investing.
Yeah, on the guidelines to investing, I think the first thing, again, and self-awareness is going to be a key theme for me here, is understanding your own risk profile. Okay. Right? So
what does that mean?
So say, for example, I am a young individual. Yeah. You know, I'm 20 years old, you know, or 20, 24. Kind of entering the workforce, or I have my own gig going on that's giving me some reasonable income coming through. An individual like that has a very long investment horizon, right? Yeah. You know, if you're 20 years old, you know, and you live until you're 65, you know, that's 45 years that you have time to do stuff with. So somebody like that has the ability to take risk, right?
Their appetite might be a bit.
Their appetite is a bit higher.
Okay.
You know, they can make money, you know, lose money, they still have time to recoup, you know. Whereas if I'm 80 years old, right, my risk-taking ability is limited, right? You don't want to be the person who is now investing in things that have such a high risk profile that the quality of my life or what's left of it can be, you know, decline. So understanding your risk profile is important. There are people who, for other reasons, are just generally risk averse in nature. Yeah, women. Right? Yeah,
generally, you know, we don't like it.
You just, you know, you don't want to take risks. So for people like that, then, you know, there are products out there that are tailor-made for people who are risk averse. So like money market funds generally speak to people who are, you know, conservative in their approach. Right? Equity funds tend to be more aligned with people who have a higher risk profile. So the young person I'm talking about here can get access to stock investments through an equity fund, and over the long term should do pretty well, particularly given where we are at the moment. A balance fund is supposed to sort of cater to the person who has a sort of medium risk profile. So, you know, you're kind of in between super conservative and very high risk. And the kind of assets it invests in allow for that. So your risk profile is very key to understand. You don't want to be the person who is conservative and then you're going in for the highest risk investment. It's usually
get a heart attack.
Exactly. You know, it's usually not a recipe for a very good night's sleep. For that kind of a person. So yeah, I think just to reiterate, establish a reasonable savings rate. That will give you a chance of sticking to it, you know, and you can build it over time. And then finally, just understand your risk profile. You know, try and avoid the whole fad thing of, you know, my friends are this risk profile. Because they're my friends, even me, I must be. No, just have a moment, ask yourself, you know, really, where do I lie? And then you can position accordingly.
I like that. Money is very personal. You know, it's very personal. You understand the hard work you put in to make it. It's not your friend, so you understand the risk or the issues you get if you lost that money. So I like that. I like that you've said that, and I like that you've said there's high risk investments and low risk. Can you give us examples of high risk versus low risk?
So high risk investments for me would be any investment whose value tends to move, you know, very frequently, either very much up or down, right? And I guess the technical term is volatility for that, right? So if something is volatile, clearly there's a risk involved. And I think right now the classic example of that type of an investment is cryptocurrency. Right? You have a situation where, you know, if you're talking about Bitcoin, which is, you know, obviously the godfather, so to speak, of crypto, you know, you see days where it's gone up, you know, in a matter of minutes, it's gone up $500, it's gone down $1,000. You know, that's volatility. That's a high risk sort of investment, right? I think Forex investments, to me, also fall in that kind of category. Because, you know, money markets tend to move, you know, in whichever direction for factors that are absolutely out of your control. You know, if there is a riot in an oil producing country, it can just have an effect on Kenya, which imports oil, right? So, you know, you can wake up and find, you know, the currency has moved in a completely different direction. So anything whose price tends to move a lot, I think I classify as a high risk investment. Low risk investments tend to be those that give a reasonable, consistent return over time. So money market funds generally fall in that category. You know, you put in your 10,000, the underlying investments bear interest, So on a monthly basis, you should be getting your principal and a little bit of return, right? Which is fairly consistent. I'd say deposits within banking sector are also, to me, conservative. You know, you walk into your bank, you ask them, you know, what are your fixed deposit rates? They'll tell you, you know, we are giving 5% as an example. If you place your money for 3 months with us, right? And usually what happens is at the end of the 3 months, you'll get a slip that says you put in, you know, X amount of money. This is the interest that you earned over the 3 months as per the agreed rate. You know, we've obviously removed withholding tax. You know, we all have to pay our taxes. And then that's your amount, right? So it's unlikely you're gonna get into a situation where you put a fixed deposit and you get less than you had put in before. Those are what I've termed as conservative investments. How about
government bonds? What exactly is Emakiba? Are those also low risk investments?
Yes, so government bonds are also an example of a low risk investment. You know, the government essentially says we are gonna sell 50 billion worth of a particular bond. This month actually they were selling 2-year bonds. So they said we'll put 50 billion of this bond in the market. Those who have interest apply for it. Then what the government promises is at the end of 2 years they will give you back your money along with the interest that they promised at the start, right? And they're usually fixed interest instruments, meaning if they said it's going to be 9.4%, it's not going to change, right? So that again just speaks to that. Remember I was talking about value movements being, you know, very high or very low. That consistency makes them fall in that conservative category. Emakiba was an initiative by the government to allow me and you to be able to participate in those kind of bond offers through the comfort of our phones, right? So you sign up with an Emakiba account and you can decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to transfer X amount from my M-Pesa into that investment.
I think the minimum is it 3,000 bob or something like that?
It was 3,000 bob. And again, you know, everything is habitual, right? So you start with the 3,000, you get your money back after the period that they accepted. You say, okay, you know what, now I'm a bit more confident. Hopefully you also have a lot more money in terms of money you can put in that venture, and then you can put more and more on it, right? So Emakiba was, you know, I think a great initiative in terms of just opening it up as well.
I like that as well. True or false? High risk, high return. Low risk, low return.
So true in the sense that I'd rephrase it a bit differently. A high risk investment, you know, if it works out well, you know, the returns are fantastic, right? That's what you're gonna go for lunch with your girlfriends and brag about and be like, you know, I did this and it really worked out. However, the downside also exists for those investments. So if it doesn't work out, those are the ones where we are gonna be quiet about it over that lunch. We are gonna take a step back.
You wouldn't go for the lunch. How are you paying?
We'll take a step back and reevaluate and say, okay, next time we're gonna approach this a bit differently, right? Now, low risk investments do generally give you a lower return. But it's unlikely you're going to suffer as much downside risk as a high risk investment. So even if, you know, it didn't work out that well, you stand to lose less with a conservative or low risk investment. So it really does speak to that whole idea of where does my risk profile as Maina lie, right? If I'm that guy who is a risk lover, you know, like I can leave my wallet at a table somewhere and come back and it's not there and I'll be like, you know, all good, roll with the punches and I'm good. And I'm not that person who will leave my wallet there, it disappears and I'm gonna be brooding over it for 2 weeks. How did I, you know, even if you didn't have much in it from a monetary perspective, it's really important to understand where you lie. Oh, fantastic. All right, guys, that was Guidelines to Saving and Investments. Tune in next time when Mr. Maina takes us through specifics, pros and cons of money market funds versus banking versus SACCOs.